It's a very complicated bureaucratic structure that has been put forward, and there's been a certain amount of confusion. So this is what we know, just to be clear. There are 4 layers to this. Right at the top is the Board of Peace, which has been talked about for a while, and we only know one person who is going to be on that Board of Peace, and that is Donald Trump, who will be the chair of it. The places on it will all be taken up by serving national leaders. So I would imagine Keir Starmer, Giorgia Meloni, Recep Tayyip Erdogan and others will be invited to be on that. There's been a lot of talk of Tony Blair being on the Board of Peace. He isn't. So where he is then, the second layer down is this executive board. And everybody on that is an American citizen other than Tony Blair. As you said, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, Marco Rubio, Mark Rowan, who's the boss of a big private equity firm. He's on that. There's a national security advisor and also the head of the World Bank. Then right, sort of layer number 4, if you want, which is already up and running, is this group of Palestinians who are dealing really on the ground with issues, whether that is construction or sanitation, health, or even religious issues. They are dealing with that on the ground. They're called the Technocratic Committee, or that's how they're referred to. And then there's another one which is between those two, between the kind of number 2, this executive board, and what's happening on the ground. And that's confusingly also called an executive committee, and also has on it Tony Blair, Marco Rubio, Witkoff, Kushner, but has also people from this region, including the Egyptian intelligence chief. There is a minister from Dubai, the only woman who's involved in this so far. So, look, it's a lot of people. There's a lot of power clearly invested in the United States at the top. Now, let me just add a bit more to it. Now you've got a guy called Nikola Mladenov, who's a Bulgarian diplomat, who is going to be the high representative, again dealing on the ground, linking up the Gazans with these executive board. And now we also know that General Jasper Jeffords, an American, of course, will be head of the stabilization force, but we don't know what troops are going to be in that. We don't really know what their mandate is going to be operating on the ground in Gaza. So, as so often, we've got a kind of temptingly significant amount of information, but we don't have all the answers. Now, there's been a lot of heat around Tony Blair, around this question of his reputation. And certainly he can be a divisive figure in this region. A lot of people remember his decision to take the UK into the Iraq War. There are others, though, who say, look, the Good Friday Agreement was an extraordinary effort at bringing communities together. He's a man who has spent years here, part of the Quadrant, and within many countries in this region, he is seen to understand the transactional nature that unites some leaders here with the Trump administration. So he can be divisive here, but I would say at the moment there are plenty who are prepared to give him a crack and to stand back and see how will this, what on the one hand seems quite unwieldy structure, how will it work in practice? A lot of people want this to succeed.
US President Donald Trump has begun forming his so-called Board of Peace to oversee post-war governance and reconstruction in Gaza. On Saturday, leaders from Egypt, Turkey, Argentina and Canada were invited to join the board. Earlier, Trump appointed key figures to the panel, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, and senior negotiators Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. Trump declared himself chair of the board, promoting a vision of economic development for Gaza, which has suffered over 2 years of Israeli bombardment. In Canada, a senior aide to Prime Minister Mark Carney said he intends to accept Trump's invitation. Turkey's President Erdogan has been asked to become a founding member, while Egypt is reviewing the request for President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to join. Argentine President Javier Milei described participation as an honor, and Tony Blair expressed gratitude for the appointment to the executive board. The White House said the board will handle governance, capacity building, regional relations, reconstruction, investment attraction, large-scale funding, and capital mobilization. Other members include World Bank President Ajay Banga, US financier Mark Rowan, and Trump aide Robert Gabriel. Trump also created a second Gaza executive board in an advisory role and appointed Major General Jasper Jeffords to lead the International Stabilization Force, responsible for security and training a new police force. Former Palestinian Authority Deputy Minister Ali Shad will head Gaza's governing committee.
And we are following breaking news. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says the U.S. is launching phase 2 of the 20-point peace plan to end the conflict in Gaza. Phase 2 would involve disarming Hamas and rebuilding the area destroyed by the war. Senior national policy reporter Ann Flaherty, foreign correspondent Tom Sufi Burridge are both here with the details on that. Hi to you both. So, Ann, what's the latest from Steve Witkoff on this?
So, Diane, they are suggesting this is a major movement, that now that this humanitarian phase, they've increased the number of humanitarian aid that's gone into Gaza. He says that they are now moving into phase 2. Witkoff says that on behalf of the president, we are moving from ceasefire to demilitarization, he says in a post on X. He says technocratic governance and reconstruction. He goes on to spell out that a new Palestinian administration will be put in place. He calls it the National Committee of the Administration of Gaza. This will be 15 Palestinian leaders, is what we expect, tasked with the monumental challenge of governing Gaza.
Concise and factual. Technocratic governance is a system where decision-making authority is concentrated in technical experts, scientists, engineers, and data administrators rather than elected representatives. Policies are guided primarily by data, algorithms, efficiency metrics, and centralized planning, often using digital infrastructure such as surveillance systems, biometric IDs, AI decision tools, and programmable currencies. In practice, technocracy tends to reduce moral, spiritual, and individual considerations in favor of optimization, compliance, and system stability. Authority flows from technical control of resources, information, and access rather than from consent of the governed. Biblical precepts related to end times control systems. 1. Revelation 13:16-17. Open quote. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark. Close quote. Tie-in. This describes a centralized economic control system where participation in commerce is conditional upon compliance. A technocratic structure makes this feasible through digital identity, cashless systems, and algorithmic enforcement, aligning with the mechanism described in the prophecy. 2. Daniel 12:4, KJV. Open quote. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Close quote. Tie-in. This points to an explosion of technical knowledge and systems at the end time. Increased knowledge is not merely wisdom, but specialized, system-level control, enabling global coordination, monitoring, and enforcement, conditions necessary for a technocratic beast system to operate. Bottom line. Technocratic governance provides the infrastructure and mechanisms, data control, digital economics, surveillance, and centralized authority that mirror the functional requirements of the end-time system described in Scripture. The Bible does not name technocracy, but it clearly outlines the results of such a system. 1/3. Biblical precept on the deliverance of the 1/3. Zechariah 13:8-9, KJV. Open quote. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. Close quote. Explanation, concise and aligned. This passage directly establishes the 1/3 remnant of Israel as those who are preserved through judgment, not removed from it. They are tested, refined, and spiritually sealed, distinguishing them from the system of coercion and destruction. In the context of end times technocratic and beast systems, this remnant is delivered by divine intervention, not by compliance, technology, or human governance. Their protection comes from covenant identity and faithfulness rather than participation in the controlling structures described earlier. Key point: deliverance is selective, purifying, and covenant-based, standing in contrast to the universal enforcement of the beast system. All praises to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahawashi, Abad Babal, Kam Yasharahla, Washalawam. Peace and blessings to the remnant of Yasharallah. May wisdom, endurance, and discernment be increased as the days grow darker. Stay watchful, sober, and grounded in the truth.